A single father stands in line at a diner, barely scraping by while raising his daughter alone. The woman ahead of him is short on cash, embarrassed, fumbling through her wallet. Without thinking twice, he covers her meal. "Pay it forward," he says with a tired smile, unaware that in 48 hours, this same woman will sit behind a bench in a courthouse, holding his daughter's future in her hands. What happens next proves that kindness isn't just its own reward. Sometimes it's the difference between keeping your family together and losing everything. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world are you tuning in from. We love seeing how far our stories travel. The Tuesday morning rush at Rosie's Diner was in full swing. Coffee machines hissed, plates clanked, and the smell of bacon and maple syrup filled the air. Ben Carter stood in line at the register, his 5-year-old daughter Lily's hand clasped firmly in his. She was chattering about her upcoming kindergarten show and tell, something about bringing her stuffed elephant because elephants were the smartest animals, except maybe dolphins. Ben smiled and nodded, but his mind was elsewhere, specifically on the number in his checking account. $247.83. He had the custody hearing on Thursday, 2 days from now, and he still hadn't paid his lawyer's final retainer installment. The hearing would determine whether Lily stayed with him or went to live with his ex-wife, Vanessa, and her new husband in California. "Daddy, are you listening?" Lily tugged his sleeve. "Always, sweetheart," Ben said, crouching down to her level. "You were saying Mr. Trunks needs to come to school." "Yes, because he's very wise. He's been to 17 countries. "Has he now?" "Well, we pretended he went to 17 countries. That counts, right?" "Absolutely counts." The line moved forward. Ben straightened up, and that's when he noticed the woman ahead of them. She was probably in her mid-50s, dressed professionally in a charcoal blazer and slacks, her graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. She had the posture of someone used to authority, shoulders back, chin level, but right now she looked flustered. "I'm so sorry," she was saying to the teenage cashier, dumping the contents of her wallet onto the counter. "I know I have enough. I just withdrew cash yesterday, but I must have—" She counted the bills twice. "I'm $8 short. This is so embarrassing." The cashier, a kid who couldn't have been more than 17, looked uncomfortable. "It's okay, ma'am. You could maybe take off some items." The woman glanced at her tray, a simple breakfast of scrambled eggs, toast, and coffee. Nothing excessive. "Right. Yes, I'll just—" She looked genuinely distressed. "Can I just have the coffee then?" "Ma'am, the coffee alone is $3.50. You've got $6. "Then coffee and toast. Is that enough?" The line behind Ben was growing. People were getting impatient. Someone muttered something about credit cards. The woman's cheeks flushed red. Ben didn't even think about it. He stepped forward, pulling out his wallet. "Excuse me," he said to the cashier. "I'll cover the difference. Just ring it all up together." The woman turned to him, startled. "Oh no, you don't have to do that." "It's no problem," Ben said, handing over a $10 bill to cover both the $8 shortage and his own coffee. "Really, we've all been there." The woman looked at him, something unreadable in her expression. "Thank you. That's incredibly kind. Can I have your information? I'd like to pay you back." "Not necessary," Ben said with a tired smile. "Just pay it forward when you get the chance." The woman nodded slowly, still looking slightly stunned. "I will. I absolutely will. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Ben Carter. But really, it's nothing." "It's not nothing," the woman said quietly. "Not to me." She took her tray and moved to a corner booth, glancing back at Ben once before sitting down. The cashier rang up Ben's coffee. Lily tugged his sleeve again. "Daddy, that was nice. You helped that lady." "That's what we do, Lil. We help people when we can." "Even when we don't have a lot of money?" Ben's chest tightened. His daughter was too perceptive. Especially then, actually. They left the diner. Ben couldn't afford to stay for breakfast, just needed the coffee for the long shift ahead, and headed to Lily's school. As he drove, Ben thought about that number again. $247.83. After paying for the woman's meal and his coffee, it would be closer to $235. He had a court hearing in 2 days that would determine his entire future, and he'd just given away money he couldn't afford to lose. But somehow, he couldn't bring himself to regret it. Thursday morning arrived too quickly. Ben stood outside the family courthouse, his cheap suit, borrowed from his coworker Marcus, hanging slightly too loose on his frame. He'd lost weight in the past 6 months, stress eating away at him like acid. His lawyer, Patricia Gomez, met him on the steps. She was good, really good, but also expensive. The reduced rate she'd offered him was already stretching his budget to the breaking point. "Are you ready?" Patricia asked, her expression serious. "As I'll ever be." Ben's voice came out steadier than he felt. "Remember what we talked about. Answer questions directly. Don't get defensive. Show the judge you're a stable, loving parent who can provide for Lily." "I am a stable, loving parent." "I know, but Vanessa's lawyer is going to try to paint you as struggling financially, working too many hours, leaving Lily with babysitters constantly. We need to counter that narrative." Ben nodded, his jaw tight. Everything Patricia just said was technically true. He did work long hours, 2 jobs actually. He was a high school janitor during the day and drove for a rideshare service at night. And yes, Lily spent time with babysitters. Mrs. Chen from next door watched her most evenings, refusing to accept more than $20 a week because she was retired and enjoyed the company. But struggling didn't mean failing. Working hard didn't mean he loved his daughter less. "Let's go," Patricia said. They entered the courthouse, went through security, and made their way to Family Court Division 3. Vanessa was already there with her lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in an expensive suit, and her new husband, Richard. Richard worked in finance, made 6 figures, and had never missed an opportunity to remind Ben of that fact. Vanessa wouldn't meet Ben's eyes. They'd been divorced for 3 years now, married for 5 before that. She'd left when Lily was 2. Said she couldn't handle the stress of parenthood, the financial struggles, the tiny apartment. She'd moved to California to find herself, which apparently meant finding Richard instead. For 3 years, Ben had raised Lily alone. Vanessa called maybe once a month, sent birthday cards sometimes. And now, suddenly, she wanted full custody. Claimed she was in a better place to provide for Lily. Claimed Ben was barely keeping it together. The bailiff called them to order. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Miriam Hartwell." Ben stood, his heart pounding. And then the judge walked in. Ben's stomach dropped. It was her, the woman from the diner, the one he'd paid for. Judge Hartwell settled into her seat, arranging papers in front of her. She glanced up at the assembled parties and her eyes landed on Ben. For a fraction of a second, so brief he might have imagined it, her expression flickered with recognition. Then it was gone, replaced with professional neutrality. "Please be seated," she said. Her voice was calm, authoritative. "We're here today regarding the custody case of Lily Carter, currently in the primary custody of her father, Benjamin Carter, with Vanessa Morrison seeking to modify the custody arrangement. Let's begin with opening statements. Miss Morrison's counsel, you may proceed." Vanessa's lawyer stood, all polished confidence. "Your Honor, my client, Miss Vanessa Morrison, is here today seeking full custody of her daughter Lily Carter, age 5. Miss Morrison has undergone significant personal growth in the past 3 years. She is now remarried to Richard Morrison, a financial analyst with a stable 6-figure income. They reside in a 4-bedroom home in an excellent school district in San Diego, California." She continued, painting a picture of stability and resources. Then came the turn. "While we acknowledge Mr. Carter's love for his daughter, we have concerns about his ability to adequately provide for her. Mr. Carter works 2 jobs, as a school janitor and as a rideshare driver, often working upwards of 70 hours per week. Lily is frequently left in the care of a neighbor, an elderly woman in her 70s. Mr. Carter's financial situation is precarious at best. In the past 6 months alone, his checking account has been overdrawn twice. He lives in a 1-bedroom apartment where Lily sleeps on a pull-out couch in the living room." Each word felt like a punch. Ben forced himself to keep his expression neutral. "Miss Morrison can offer Lily stability, financial security, her own bedroom, access to excellent schools, and, most importantly, a mother who is ready and able to be fully present in her life. The lawyer sat down. Patricia stood for the defense. Your Honor, Benjamin Carter has been Lily's primary caregiver since she was 2 years old. He has never missed a parent-teacher conference, a doctor's appointment, or a bedtime story. Yes, he works hard, because that's what parents do. They sacrifice. They show up. They put their children first. Patricia's voice was strong, confident. Miss Morrison may have financial resources now, but resources aren't the same as relationship. Lily doesn't know her mother. Vanessa has called her daughter perhaps a dozen times in the past year. She's visited twice. Meanwhile, Mr. Carter has built a life with Lily. He's her father, her caregiver, her constant. Uprooting her from the only home she's known, from her school, her friends, her father, that's not in Lily's best interest. That's trauma masquerading as opportunity. Patricia sat down. Judge Hartwell made notes, her expression unreadable. Then she looked up. I'd like to hear from Mr. Carter directly. Mr. Carter, please take the stand. Ben's legs felt unsteady as he walked to the witness stand. He was sworn in, sat down, and tried to ignore the way his hands were shaking. Mr. Carter, Judge Hartwell began, her tone neutral, can you describe your typical day with Lily? Ben took a breath. I wake up at 5:30, I get ready for work, then I wake Lily up at 6:15. We have breakfast together, usually cereal or toast, sometimes eggs if we have time. I drive her to school at 7:20. I work at Jefferson High School as a janitor from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. I pick Lily up from school at 3:30. We go home, she does homework while I make dinner. We eat together, then we play or read. Bath time at 7, bedtime at 8. On nights when I have to drive for the rideshare service, my neighbor, Mrs. Chen, watches her. I'm usually home by 11. How often do you work nights? 3 to 4 times a week. And you're comfortable leaving your daughter with a 73-year-old neighbor that frequently? Ben bristled but kept his voice level. Mrs. Chen is wonderful with Lily. She's a retired teacher, she's sharp as a tack, and Lily loves her. I wouldn't leave my daughter with anyone I didn't trust completely. What about financial stability? Miss Morrison's counsel mentioned overdrafts. I had 2 overdrafts, yes. One was a banking error that was corrected. The other was because Lily got sick and I had to pay for medication that wasn't fully covered by insurance. I had to choose between my electric bill and my daughter's health. I chose my daughter. Do you believe you can adequately provide for Lily's needs? I know I can, Ben said firmly. We don't have a big house or a lot of money, but Lily has everything she needs. She's fed, clothed, loved. She's thriving in school. She's happy. I understand that Vanessa can offer more materially, but I can offer something that matters more. I can offer consistency, presence, a parent who has always been there and always will be. Judge Hartwell nodded, making notes. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Vanessa's lawyer stood for cross-examination. Mr. Carter, you mentioned working 70-plus hours a week. Do you consider that quality parenting time? I consider it providing for my daughter. But wouldn't Lily benefit from having a parent who doesn't have to work multiple jobs, who can be home when she gets off school every day? Maybe, but she'd benefit more from being with the parent who's raised her, who knows her favorite foods, her fears, her dreams, who's been there every single day of her life. You're saying Miss Morrison isn't capable of learning those things? I'm saying it takes time and trust, and Lily doesn't have that with Vanessa, through no fault of Lily's. The lawyer's expression hardened. Are you suggesting Miss Morrison is a bad mother? I'm saying she hasn't been a mother to Lily. I have. Your Honor, Vanessa's lawyer said sharply, Mr. Carter is being hostile. I'm being honest, Ben countered. Mr. Carter, Judge Hartwell interjected calmly, please answer the questions without editorial commentary. Yes, Your Honor. The cross-examination continued. They hammered him on finances, on his work schedule, on the one-bedroom apartment. By the time Ben stepped down, he felt exhausted and defeated. Then Vanessa took the stand. She testified about her personal growth, her stable marriage, her readiness to be a mother. She cried when talking about missing so much of Lily's life and wanting to make up for lost time. Patricia cross-examined her thoroughly. "Miss Morrison, how many times have you visited Lily in the past year?" "Twice." "And how long were those visits?" "A weekend each time." "So 4 days total in the past 12 months?" "Yes, but—" "How many phone calls have you initiated with your daughter?" Vanessa hesitated. "I'm not sure exactly." "Would you say more than 10? "Probably around that, yes." "And during those calls, how long did you typically speak with Lily?" 5 or 10 minutes usually. She's young. She doesn't talk on the phone very long. Or perhaps she doesn't know who you are well enough to hold a conversation." "Objection!" Vanessa's lawyer called. "Sustained," Judge Hartwell said. "Ms. Gomez, please rephrase." Patricia nodded. "Ms. Morrison, would you say Lily is comfortable with you?" "She's warming up to me." "After 5 years?" Vanessa's eyes filled with tears again. "I made mistakes. I know that. But I'm trying to fix them. I want my daughter back." "She's not a possession to get back," Patricia said quietly. "She's a child who needs stability. A child who has a father who has never left her, who has sacrificed everything for her. Can you honestly say that uprooting her from the only life she knows is in her best interest?" Vanessa looked at Judge Hartwell. "I just want a chance to be her mother." The testimony continued for another hour. Character witnesses were called. Mrs. Chen spoke about Ben's dedication, how Lily was thriving, how she'd never seen a more devoted father. Vanessa's husband Richard testified about their financial stability and their readiness to provide for a child. Finally, Judge Hartwell called for a recess. "I'll review all testimony and evidence," she said. "I'll issue my ruling tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Court is adjourned." Ben barely slept that night. He kept replaying the hearing in his mind, analyzing every answer, every question. Had he been too defensive? Not defensive enough? Had he made things worse? And then there was the judge, the woman from the diner. Did she remember him? Did it matter? He wanted to believe kindness mattered, that doing the right thing, even in small ways, had meaning. But the cynical part of him, the part that had been beaten down by 3 years of single parenting and financial struggle, whispered that the world didn't work that way. Rich people with 4-bedroom houses won custody cases. Poor people with big hearts lost them. He picked up Lily from Mrs. Chen's apartment the next morning. She was chattering about school, about a boy named Tyler who'd eaten paste during art class, completely unaware that in 2 hours her entire world might change. "Daddy, why do you look sad?" Lily asked as they walked to the car. "I'm not sad, sweetheart. Just tired." "Are you worried about something?" Ben crouched down, smoothing her hair back. "A little bit. But don't you worry about grown-up stuff, okay? That's my job." "Is it about me?" Ben's chest tightened. "Everything I do is about you, Lil, because you're the most important person in my whole world." Lily hugged him, her small arms tight around his neck. "You're my most important person too, Daddy." Ben held her, memorizing the feeling, just in case. The courtroom was packed when they returned at 10 a.m. Patricia met Ben outside, her expression unreadable. "Whatever happens, you're a good father. Don't forget that." "That sounds like you're preparing me for bad news." "I'm preparing you for anything." They entered the courtroom. Vanessa and Richard were already seated. Vanessa looked nervous. Richard looked confident. Judge Hartwell entered and everyone rose. She settled into her seat, her expression serious. She had a folder in front of her, thick with documents. "Please be seated," she said. "I've spent considerable time reviewing the testimony and evidence in this case. This was not an easy decision." Ben's heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. "Custody cases are among the most challenging matters that come before this court," Judge Hartwell continued. "They require balancing legal standards with human realities. We must consider not just what the law says, but what serves the best interest of the child." She paused, glancing at her notes. In this case, we have a father who has been the primary caregiver for 5 years, a father who works tirelessly, perhaps too tirelessly, to provide for his daughter, a father who, by all accounts and testimony, loves his child deeply and has sacrificed greatly for her well-being. Ben's hands were shaking. We also have a mother who, after 3 years of limited contact, now seeks to re-establish a relationship with her daughter, a mother who can provide significant financial resources and material stability. Judge Hartwell looked directly at Ben. Their eyes met. "Mr. Carter, I'm going to tell you something that's highly unusual for a judge to disclose. 2 days ago, I was in a diner. I'd forgotten my wallet at home, or thought I had, and found myself short on cash. I was embarrassed, flustered, and you stepped forward without hesitation and paid for my meal." The courtroom went completely silent. "You told me to pay it forward. You didn't know who I was. You didn't know I'd be presiding over your custody case. You simply saw someone in need and you helped. Despite working 2 jobs, despite having very little yourself, you gave." Vanessa's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. "Now, I want to be very clear," Judge Hartwell said, her tone firm. "That incident alone did not determine my ruling. I've based my decision entirely on the testimony, evidence, and legal standards applicable to this case. However, that moment at the diner confirmed something I observed throughout yesterday's proceedings: Benjamin Carter's character." She looked at Vanessa now.
"Miss Morrison, I don't doubt that you love your daughter. I don't doubt that you want to be part of her life. But wanting to be a parent is different from being a parent. Being a parent is showing up day after day, year after year. It's sacrificing your own comfort for your child's well-being. It's being present not just in moments of convenience, but in every moment that matters." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Mr. Carter has been that parent. He has been present. He has sacrificed. He has built a life with Lily, a life that, while not luxurious, is filled with love, consistency, and stability. Judge Hartwell picked up her gavel. "Therefore, it is the order of this court that primary physical custody of Lily Carter shall remain with her father, Benjamin Carter. Ms. Morrison is granted visitation rights 1 weekend per month and 2 weeks during the summer to be arranged at Mr. Carter's discretion until Lily is comfortable with a more extensive schedule." The gavel came down. Ben's world tilted. He gripped the edge of the table, trying to process what he'd just heard. He'd won! He'd won! Patricia squeezed his shoulder. "Congratulations," she whispered. Across the aisle, Vanessa was crying. Richard put an arm around her shoulders. Her lawyer was already packing up papers, her expression tight. "Mr. Carter," Judge Hartwell said, and Ben looked up at her. "Your daughter is lucky to have you. Don't ever forget that. And perhaps invest in a second bedroom when you're able. The pull-out couch situation isn't ideal, though I recognize you're doing the best you can with available resources." "Yes, Your Honor." "Thank you, Your Honor." Court is adjourned. Ben stepped outside into the bright morning sun, and for the first time in months, he felt like he could breathe. Patricia was talking to him about paperwork and formalities, but he barely heard her. All he could think about was Lily. He needed to pick her up from Mrs. Ten's. He needed to hold his daughter and know she wasn't going anywhere. "Ben!" Vanessa's voice stopped him on the courthouse steps. He turned. She stood there, mascara streaked, looking smaller somehow than she had inside. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Just for a minute." Ben glanced at Patricia, who nodded and stepped away to give them privacy. "What do you want, Vanessa?" She took a shaky breath. "I'm not going to fight the ruling. I want you to know that. I'm not filing an appeal." "Okay." "And I know I don't deserve your forgiveness or your understanding, but I need you to know that I do love her. I love Lily. I wasn't ready to be a mother when she was born. I was drowning, Ben. Postpartum depression, financial stress, feeling like a failure at everything. I ran because I thought it was better for everyone if I wasn't there." "You could have gotten help," Ben said quietly.
You didn't have to leave. I know that now, but I didn't know it then. Vanessa wiped her eyes. I'm not asking you to understand. I'm just asking you to let me be part of her life. Even if it's small, even if it's just one weekend a month like the judge ordered, please don't shut me out completely. Ben looked at this woman he'd once loved, once married, once built a life with. She'd broken his heart when she left. She'd broken Lily's life. But she was still Lily's mother. I won't shut you out, Ben said finally. But you need to earn Lily's trust. You need to show up consistently, not just when it's convenient, not just when you're feeling guilty. Consistently, every single month. If you can do that, if you can prove you're serious about being in her life, then yeah, maybe we can increase the visitation. But you have to prove it. Vanessa nodded, tears streaming down her face. I will. I promise I will. Then turned to leave, then stopped. And Vanessa, get help. Real help. Therapy. If you were drowning then, make sure you're not drowning now. Because Lily doesn't need a part-time mother who shows up for a few months and then disappears again. She needs reliability. Can you be that? I'm going to try, Vanessa whispered. Then I guess we'll see. Ben walked away, leaving his ex-wife on the courthouse steps. He had a daughter to pick up. Lily was playing with blocks in Mrs. Chen's living room when Ben arrived. She looked up, saw his face, and immediately knew. We won? She asked, even though Ben hadn't told her about the hearing in those terms. We won, Ben confirmed, scooping her into his arms. You're staying with Daddy. I was always staying with you, Lily said matter-of-factly. You're my daddy. Daddies and daughters stay together. Mrs. Chen was crying, smiling. Congratulations, Ben. I never doubted it for a second. Thank you, Mrs. Chen, for everything. For watching her, for testifying, for being there for us. You're family, Mrs. Chen said simply. That's what family does. That evening, Ben and Lily had a celebration dinner. Pizza from the place down the street. Ice cream for dessert. They ate on the floor of their tiny apartment, Lily chattering about school while Ben just listened, soaking in every word. After she fell asleep on her pull-out couch, Ben sat in the dark processing everything. He thought about Judge Hartwell's words, about how that $8 gesture at the diner had come back in the most unexpected way. He pulled out his phone and sent a text to Patricia. Thank you for everything. I couldn't have done this without you. Her response came quickly. You did this, Ben. Your character, your love for Lily. That's what won today. I just presented the facts. Then he did something impulsive. He looked up the contact information for Family Court Division 3 and sent an email to Judge Hartwell's clerk. Your Honor, I wanted to thank you for your fairness and wisdom in my custody case. I know you said the diner incident didn't influence your ruling, but I want you to know that kindness does matter. It matters in small moments and big decisions. You showed me that today. Thank you for seeing what really matters. Not my bank account, but my love for my daughter. And about that second bedroom, I'm already looking. Give me 6 months. Ben Carter. He hit send before he could overthink it. 3 months later, Ben got a promotion at the school. Head of Facilities Maintenance with a 20% raise. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough. Enough to move into a 2-bedroom apartment. Enough to cut back on the rideshare driving to 3 nights a week instead of 4. Lily got her own room. They painted it purple, her choice, and Ben built her a bookshelf from scratch. She arranged her stuffed animals carefully, with Mr. Trunks the elephant in the place of honor. This is the best room ever, Lily declared on moving day. You deserve it, Ben said. Vanessa did show up for her visitation. The first month, the second, the third. She was tentative at first, clearly uncomfortable, but she kept coming. She called Lily every week, not just once a month. She sent cards on random days, not just birthdays. She was trying. Ben watched carefully, ready to protect Lily if Vanessa disappeared again. But slowly, cautiously, he started to believe that maybe she really had changed. 6 months after the custody hearing, Ben received a letter in the mail. The return address was from Family Court. Inside was a simple card with Judge Hartwell's signature. Mr. Carter, I received your email and was touched by your words. I wanted to let you know that kindness does matter. You proved that to me before I could prove it to you. I'm glad Lily has a father like you. Keep being the kind of person who pays for a stranger's breakfast, even when you can barely afford your own. The world needs more people like that. Also, I heard through court channels that you got promoted and moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. Well done. Lily's lucky to have you, but I suspect you already know that. Wishing you and your daughter all the best. Judge Miriam Hartwell. Ben kept the card in his wallet. On hard days, and there were still hard days, he'd pull it out and read it again.
A year after the hearing, Lily had her 6th birthday party. It was small, just a few kids from school, Mrs. Chen, Patricia, Marcus from work, and, surprisingly, Vanessa. She'd asked permission to come, and Lily had said yes. Vanessa brought an age-appropriate gift, helped with the decorations, and stayed in the background, letting Ben take the lead. At one point, while Lily was playing with her friends, Vanessa approached Ben in the kitchen. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for giving me a chance, for not shutting me out." "Thank you for showing up, consistently. That's all I asked." "I want you to know, I'm not trying to take her from you. I understand now that you're her parent, her real parent, the one who matters. I'm just trying to be part of her life, whatever form that takes." Ben nodded. That's all any of us can do, show up and try. Watching Lily blow out her candles surrounded by people who loved her, Ben thought about how much had changed in a year, how a single moment of kindness in a diner had spiraled into the most important day of his life. He thought he was just helping a stranger. He'd had no idea he was helping himself. 2 years after the custody hearing, Ben got another promotion, assistant principal at Jefferson High. It came with actual benefits and a salary that meant he could quit the rideshare driving entirely. Lily was 7 now, thriving in 2nd grade. She'd started taking piano lessons. The school offered them free for low-income families, and Ben had swallowed his pride and signed up. She was terrible at it, but loved every minute. Vanessa visited regularly. She'd moved up to the area, gotten an apartment 20 minutes away. She and Ben would never be friends, but they'd figured out how to co-parent civilly. Lily spent 1 weekend a month with her mother, and it worked. One Saturday morning, Ben and Lily went back to Rosie's diner for breakfast. They hadn't been there since that fateful Tuesday morning 2 years ago. The place looked the same booths, same smell of coffee and bacon. They sat down, ordered pancakes, and Ben found himself looking around. And there, in a corner booth, was Judge Hartwell. She was reading a newspaper, a cup of coffee at her elbow. She looked up, and their eyes met. She smiled, a genuine, warm smile, and gave a small wave. Ben waved back. Lily noticed. "Daddy, who's that lady?" "Someone who helped us once," Ben said. "Someone very important." "Should we say hi?" "Maybe on our way out." They ate their pancakes. Lily told Ben about a book she was reading in school, about a girl who could talk to animals. Ben listened, soaking in every word, grateful for every ordinary moment. When they finished and stood to leave, Ben walked over to Judge Hartwell's booth. She looked up, smiling. "Mr. Carter, Lily, how lovely to see you." "You too, Your Honor." "It's Miriam, outside the courthouse," she said. "How are you both?" "We're good, really good. I wanted to say thank you for everything." "No thanks necessary. You earned your outcome." "Maybe," Ben said, "but your fairness made all the difference, and your reminder that kindness matters. I think about that a lot." "As do I," Miriam said. She looked at Lily. "You take good care of your father, young lady. He's a good man." "I know," Lily said seriously. "He's the best daddy." Miriam's eyes got a little misty. "I believe that." As Ben and Lily walked back to their car hand in hand, Ben thought about how interconnected life really was, how small actions rippled outward in ways you could never predict. He'd paid for a stranger's breakfast because it was the right thing to do.
Because even when you have almost nothing, you can still give something.
And that choice, that $8 act of kindness, had saved his family. Sometimes the universe pays attention. Sometimes doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when you can barely afford it, comes back to you in ways you never imagined. Ben looked down at his daughter, chattering about the pancakes and the lady in the booth and whether they could get a dog someday. "Maybe someday," Ben said. "We'll see." "We'll see" means no, Lily said, repeating Sophie's wisdom from years ago. "We'll see" means we'll see, Ben corrected, smiling. They drove home through the sunny morning, father and daughter, together, right where they belonged. If this story reminded you that kindness is never wasted, that character matters more than wealth, and that sometimes the smallest gestures have the biggest impact, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like, subscribe, and remember, you never know who's watching when you choose to be kind. Do it anyway.